Here is another session from the series Defense Against Dark Act. We are focusing on developing the knowledge, awareness, mental readiness to prepare our own protection shields against these frauds and intruders. In this session, we'll be discussing about reverse payment scams. Let's take a look how these scams are being carried out. So this is how the modus operandi gets worked out. The fraudster establishes a communication channel with the uninformed people. Usually they call up. They masquerade as company representative and develop a benefit scenario. And they uses fake data to make this sound authentic. Uninformed people looking at the prospect of the benefit in excitement, respond and agree to provide prompt support. And as part of this process, the fraudsters send a link to the uninformed people and ask them to provide their information on the given link. And uninformed people provide the information on the given link as needed. But instead of getting a payment, they end up paying a lump sum amount to the fraudsters. It works in reverse. And this is how uninformed people become the victim of reverse payment scam. And the benefit scenarios, could be anything like cashback, money back, refund for select customers, cash for redeeming points, discount on insurance payment, cash prize for loyalty. Any of these different scenarios, the fraudster, gets creative and develop it. They usually leverage some sort of breach data that identifies the people, the potential victims into the particular scenario. Like for example, if they're aware that the person has made some transactions, recently, and if they get hold of that data, they use that information to convince the people that, okay, the cashback is being offered to you because of that past transaction that has been done, or a certain purchase. If people have done certain purchase, they say that, okay, the money back is given because of that purchase, or some sort of um, payment that has been done. It could be a bill payment, it could be an insurance payment, and if the fraudster get hold of that information, they make it sound like, a discount is being offered against that particular payment that has been done. So in general, there could be several such scenarios, and the fraudsters are always, becoming creative to develop these scenarios. So these are just certain examples of how these benefit scenarios could be. Now, what is a counter strategy? How you can safeguard yourself from these reverse payment frauds. It would require you to um, carry on a situation analysis whenever you're experiencing similar kind of approaches are being made to you. And you will have to respond with level headedness and clarity of thoughts to validate the situation. You need to understand what kind of benefit is being offered to you and how the entire situation analysis corresponding to the benefit and corresponding to the calling party will have to be done. And as a usual response, the fraudsters will try to convince you with some little bit of more data, and definitely they will exert pressure to decide promptly. Um, and they will definitely try to make you believe that the benefits are not available beyond a certain time frame. And this is where you will have to diligently decide the next course of action. So typically, you have to communicate as much as needed to identify the legitimacy of the situation, and then might as well break off for offline validation. This is the situation analysis and the diligence in deciding the next course of action. This is how you can protect yourself from becoming a victim. Now, here are some recommendations, on carrying out the situation analysis. So if you receive an SMS from a company, usually as per the mandate from Telecom Regulatory Authority of India, companies' SMSs will always have last six characters representing the company brand. So if you have received an SMS and if the SMS sender address is showing up as, let's say, AA-ABCDEF, the last six characters ABCDEF should be representing the brand of the company who has sent that SMS. And the first two characters, AA, would be the abbreviation of the telecom operator who has sent this SMS on behalf of the particular company. So if you have received an SMS from a branded company, you should expect the SMS sender address in this format. And if you have received it in this format, you should check whether the last six characters is similar to the kind of brand the company is carrying. So is it somewhat similar to the brand name of the company or not? And uh, if there are links provided in that particular SMS, usually those links could be short links, short URLs. You must try and evaluate whether those short URLs are legitimate links or not. So there are ways to validate the URLs, the links that are sent in short URL format. And in this particular series, there is a session which is particularly focusing on elaborating how to validate websites URLs, short URLs. You might go and take a look at that. That will kind of give you the idea how to validate short URLs. Now, if you have validated the short URLs, you should also get an idea where that particular short URL is pointing to. Okay. Now, let's say if it is not an SMS, if you have received this over mail, the fraudster could use different forms of communication just to make sure, just to make the whole thing sound more authentic. And if they have sent you a mail with the URLs, you would also have to validate where the mail has come from, who was the sender of the mail. Now, there is another session available in the series itself, which describes how to validate the emails as well. So if you are watching on that session, you should be able to make out whether the email that you've received is a legitimate email. It has come from the same company's domain or not, whether the sender is authentic or not. You should be able to make out by looking at that particular session and following the process described there. Now, if in case, irrespective of what is sent, uh, what kind of URLs has been sent over, if you are figuring out that the URL is pointing to a payment gateway or it's kind of leading to a payment website, you need to be sure that the payment website is essentially about receiving payment and not about sending payment. So sometimes, the fraudsters engages with victims in a way that they keep them busy in a phone call, and then they send the link over an SMS, and they want the potential victims to respond then and there by clicking on the link and by providing the information as required uh, in the particular link. So sometimes people in haste, end up doing that. But then the link, I mean, clicking on a link is an extremely delicate act. The link could be a phishing URL. It could, install silently an application, an app in your particular device. It could steal data from through those apps, or it could even be a particular payment related URL where you're providing the info and essentially you end up you're providing the info thinking that you're supposed to provide the info to receive payment, but uh, you might end up making the payment to the fraudster through this process itself. So you need to be careful on how to deal with these situations. If you're looking at your mobile screens and if let's say the particular URL has launched an UPI app, and in the UPI app, the button text display pay, and that pay is already have filled in amount in it. if you're clicking on pay, you are agreeing to pay the amount. And then if the next screen is asking for a PIN to enter, it is, of course, leading to a payment where you are making the payment to the other party. So you need to be careful on exactly how to take care of these actions. You need to be cautious. You need to be, mindful while you are performing these actions. And it's always a good idea to not come under pressure, not get engaged over a phone call, and have and act on these actions in parallel, because this way your attention onto the details will not be there. Now, if you have analyzed the situations pretty well, the next step is to have a uh, decision made on the next course of actions. So usually, you will need to have an offline validation, to decide the next course of action. If you'll have to validate whether the senders are authentic or not, be it an SMS sender or an email sender, you need to validate whether the benefit is legitimate or not, whether there are, publicly available information about the benefits that are discussed with you or not. And you also have to validate the links, the short URLs, etc., whatever you have received are legitimate or not. And last but not the least, the actions that are going to get triggered by clicking on those URLs, whether those are your intended action or not. So all these validation will help you decide the next course of actions. As a good practice, it would be better to not get engaged on a call that comes over, uh, an application. So app-based voice and video call are usually not a preferred way to communicate in some of these scenarios. It would be better to take the call on a mobile on as a in the mobile phone and record the conversation using call recording feature. And if you are clearly being able to identify this as a fraudulent communication, you should definitely submit the information about the caller in Government of India's Chakshu portal. This way, an independent cycle of validation will get triggered corresponding to the caller and the mobile number. All right, that's what we wanted to cover in this session. More recommendations and suggestions are on the way. Keep watching, stay tuned.